Hello, students. Today we are going to begin with the third chapter of our literature reader, that is Two Stories About Flying. And this chapter comprises of two parts. The first part is His First Flight, and the second part is Black Aeroplane. Today we are going to begin with the first part, His First Flight. You know that the journey of 1,000 miles begin with the first step. So even if it is 1,000 miles, but the first step is to be taken. You should always have the courage. You should always have the belief in your abilities, in your competencies, that you should be taking the first step. And gradually, as you take step by step, you would be able to conquer your goal, or you could be achieve your goal, and you can do anything in the world. Nothing is impossible if you have the desire to do and the will to do or take the first step. Now, when you were small, when you learned how to walk, it was not as easy and you could not do it in a day. It required some time for you to gradually stand up and then take a foot forward, and gradually you learned how to walk, and your family was there always to support you. Similarly, when you had started learning how to ride a bicycle, that also required you to have courage and to take a leap. Then gradually with time, you would have learned how to ride a bicycle. So whatever in your life is, whether it is any skill that you have to learn, any competency that you have to attain, you always have to take the first step. So the expert of anything was once a beginner. He took his first step, and only then he was able to do it and gain the potential or attain the skill. Here also, this is the in this chapter, His First Flight. There is a story about a young seagull. Seagull is actually a seabird living on the seashore, and it thrives on the fishes by catching the fishes, and it is black and white in color. So it has black and white feathers. So we are going to discuss about the first flight that this young seagull took after being born. So see how, what were the hesitations, what were the doubts, and how he actually took the first step. Let us begin with the chapter. Before we begin, humans have dreamed of conquering the skies. Here are two stories about flying. Okay, so we know that the story of this young seagull is also very much relatable to human beings. Whatever is applicable to them applies to human beings also. Here, the young seagull was alone on his ledge. Now, here in this chapter, there is a young seagull. We know that when the birds are born, for some time they are not, they grow up, and when they attain a full size, only then they would learn how to fly. Once their wings are strong enough and they are fully developed, the parents teach them how to fly. So this young seagull was sitting all alone. Now, why this young seagull was all alone sitting on the ledge? Ledge, as you can see, the meaning has been given, is a narrow horizontal shelf protruding or projecting from a wall or a cliff. Here in this case, it is a cliff. Cliff is a high, steep protrusion or a rock that is usually near the sea. So a very high hill, steep hill near, or a rock, very high rock near the seashore is known as a cliff. And on the top of this cliff, just there is a narrow horizontal shelf that is projecting out, creating a small kind of a space where this young seagull has been sitting all alone. And why he is sitting all alone? His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. Now you know that he is not all alone. He has two brothers and one sister, and they were also born on the very same day he was born. They have also grown to the same height and they also have the same size of wings. But they have dared to take the flight. They have taken a leap, they have taken a jump, and they were able to fly. And after learning how to fly, they have been taught by the parents how to catch the fish also and other life skills. But here, just because of doubt and suspicion that his wings are not strong enough to take a dive in this huge, extreme, infinite sky, he is scared and he is not able to take a leap. And that is why he is sitting all alone on this ledge. He had been afraid to fly with them. So, everybody doesn't have that adrenaline drift, or you can say that courage enough, that daring enough to do it at the first go. It can happen that people may take more time, some people take less time in learning something, some people take more time. It's normal, but we all have to do it. We have to live our life and attain and learn at least all the life skills. Suppose it is skydiving or it is bungee jumping and you are doing it for the first time. It is not easy to jump off from a cliff or from an aeroplane or a helicopter. It's not that easy. Until and unless you gather courage, and until and unless you have uh, your abilities, a confidence over your abilities, only then you will be able to dive, make the first dive or take the first flight here. So somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge, now you can compare this with the glider. How do people use a glider? They run over a mountain or a cliff and then they jump down. And then in that way, they are able to fly the glider. Similarly, because you know that the body of these birds are streamlined and they have hollow bones, so they are made in an aerodynamic shape. They are able to fly nicely, but yes, the courage that is required is to be shown by you. So what happened here? Somehow when he had taken the little run, a little run he took, like the others also, forward to the brink, and he came to the brink. Brink is the edge of the ledge, to the end, to the last part of the ledge, and attempted to flap his wings. And when he started moving his wings up and down, that is flapping, he became suddenly scared and afraid, and he could not take a leap. And because he could not take a leap, he could not learn how to fly. The great expanse of sea stretched down beneath. And what is scaring him? On one hand, he has these little wings, and on the way, on the other side, the sea is very, very great and expanded, and it could seem to be limitless. The whole atmosphere also seems to be limitless, and this sea also seems to be limitless. And he's scared that he would fall down and he would drown. So the great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down. And just imagine, when you imagine, then you feel sometimes you exaggerate the situation. And how much down it is? Miles down. And if I will fall miles down, obviously my feathers are not strong enough and I would drown and I would die. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. He was sure that they are not so strong enough. He did not have belief or faith on his own competencies. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge. So just after he could not do, he failed, he went back, and there was a little hole, a little space where he went back in the ledge, and there he slept at night. Now he is all alone. Where is the family? The family has flown and it is resting on the other side, because They have used all the tactics, and the finally as a tactic they are using is isolating him or ridiculing him. You know, when your parents, when you were small, or even today when they want to teach you something and it is becoming more and more difficult, you are not trying anything, you are not showing your will to do something, you are not taking your first step, then sometimes they have to ignore you, sometimes they have to scold you, sometimes they have to punish you. And there are certain punishments also that are to be given, like here in this case they are starving him and you ignore, you completely isolate the child. So similar kind of techniques are used here by the parents. So he is all left alone here on the ledge. And so the he felt certain that his wings would not support him. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink. Now, it has been said that though they are brothers and sisters born at the same time, but his wings, as compared to them, the other siblings, are a little more grown. Still, he is more scared. They could easily run and they took a leap from the brink, but he could not. Flapped their wings and they flew away. He failed to muster up courage, but in this case, the seagull could not gather the courage. Muster means gather up courage to take that plunge, to take a dive into the air, which appeared to him so desperate. And he was trying so desperately for it, but because he was not courageous enough, he could not take a leap or could not take a plunge into the air. His father and mother had come around. Now, your parents are always guiding you, supporting you, encouraging you, and maybe at the last moment, even shouting and scolding at you. So, here also, father and mother had come around, calling to him shrilly. They are all giving out sharp, high pitched sounds. So, shrill sounds are there. They are shouting at him, upbraiding him. They have even scolded him, threatening him to let him starve. They have even threatened him that you would starve, we will not provide you food, and then you would be left starving. So that is also done by the parents on his ledge unless he flew away. So all these things were done just to make him fly, but he did not. But for the life of him, he could not move. But he was so scared for his life that he could not move, he could not make a jump. That was 24 hours ago. 24 hours means a day ago. So it's not a very big difference. The other brothers and sisters have taken or they have learned how to fly just a day before, but he was not able to do it. And the parents and the family members are still trying. Since then, nobody had come near him. They have completely isolated him. This is another technique they have now been applying on him. The day before, all day, his brothers and sister perfecting them in the art of flight. Now, what were the happenings of the last day? What were the events of the last day? Because the other siblings, there were two brothers and one sister, were able to take a leap, so they were taught other techniques of flying, or they were made to teach and perfect the art of flying. And who was teaching this? The parents. The parents got busy with them, teaching them how to skim the waves. Skimming means just moving above the surface of water without diving, without dropping, just moving and flying above the surface of water. So this is skimming that was taught to them, and how to dive for fish. Now these birds keep on skimming, and as soon as they are able to see the fish, They just dive and they just catch the fish and they come out. So this is also taught. He had, in fact, seen his older brother catch his first herring, and his own brother was able to learn how to catch fish also from water. And which was this fish? Herring. Herring is also a very soft finned sea fish. So this fish has already been caught by his brother, and here he is not even able to fly and devour it. And with such a desire, he has eaten that fish. That was a moment of celebration for the whole family, that he has learned how to fly and he has learned how to catch a fish. Standing on a rock, while his parents circled around, raising a proud cackle. So, what happened? How the moment of happiness was shown, or how these birds are celebrating. This is a family celebration, that he was sitting on this rock and he was eating it, relishing it nicely, while the parents, the mother and father, they were encircling and they were moving and they were making a loud sound, proud cackle. And all the morning, the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. Now, on one hand, we have seen that the brother has been successful. The other siblings have also been successful to learn how to fly, but he was not. And so, what they have been doing, they have isolated. From this cliff to the opposite cliff, they have flown and they are sitting there, and from there, they are taunting him, they are ridiculing him, they are mocking at him with his cowardice, that he is a coward. They are branding him or calling him a coward. Now the sun was now ascending the sky. Ascending means going higher. So when a sun goes higher, it is sunrise. So it is daybreak, blazing on his ledge. And it was very nice, brightness that was shown upon the ledge along with the heat. So blazing on his ledge that faced the south. Now this ledge was facing the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. Now, on one hand, the sun rays are hot. On the other hand, it is adding to his suffering because he has already been hungry. He has not eaten anything since last night, and so the sun rays are bearing very hard on him. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge. And now, what has he done? Now the family is across this gap that and has flown to the other side. He is left behind this side. He is all alone. He wants to grab attention. And for this, he is trying to pretend that he is sleeping, but at the same time trying to draw attention that he is hungry. So he stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge. He came to the edge of the ledge and standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing. So he's standing on just one leg. Where is the other leg? Under his wings. It has been folded and hidden under the wings. And then he closed one eye and then the another. In this way, he is trying to pretend that he is also still sleeping, but at the same time, he is trying to draw attention. You would have seen a very small infant child doing this. When you completely ignore the child starts behaving like this. Now, in this picture, you can see the seagull family, and this is the cliff, the very steep slope, and this is very high rock just near the sea, which you can see. And There it is, there is a ledge also that we can't see properly the ledge, but this protruding part which is coming out, yes, this is the ledge. And all the others have taken a jump, but this seagull was not able to. He was really scared, and so he is left behind. Okay, further what happened, let us see. The cliff is extending into the sea. He pretended to be falling asleep. Still, they took no notice of him. Still, they completely ignored him, whatever he is trying to do. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau. Now, the plateau part is visible from this part, and he could see that the plateau is a tableland. And from here, he could see the two brothers and his sister were still dozing, or they were still sleeping with their heads sunk into their necks. Now, what is this posture of sleep of the birds to sleep? Their heads are sunken into the neck feathers, and this is the way to take rest or to sleep. His father was preening the feathers. Preening means cleaning the feathers with the beak. So that is making the feathers neat and tidy. That is what is known as preening. His feathers on, on his white back. So the back is white and he is cleaning them with the beak. Only his mother was looking at him. Now, only the mother was aware that he is pretending and he wants to draw attention. Mothers are mothers. Mothers in the world would be the one who would be the first one with to be with you, and even the last one to be with you. And your mother knows sometimes even more than you yourself know about yourself. And a mother would not let you be behind, because for a mother all the children are equal, and even if one of them is not able to take a flight, she would be pained. So she is very well aware of the presence of seagull, and she is looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau. As the camel has a hump, similarly hump here is an protruding made of earth, that is hump on the plateau, a little raised part. Her white breast thrust forward, and we can see the breast feathers. Now and again, she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet. And what she's actually doing, again and again, she tore at a piece of fish. There is a piece of fish which she has, which is lying at her feet, and she is tearing the fish into small pieces with the help of her beak, and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. And have you ever seen that the knife is rubbed or scraped on the rock so that it becomes very sharp? So similarly, the beak also, which is used for cutting the fish, is scraped on the rock so that it is sharpened. And the mother bird is doing just the same. The sight of the food maddened him. Now he, on this end, was very, very hungry. And on the other hand, the mother is there with the food, with the fish. Now, as soon as he took the sight of this food, he was mad because he was very hungry. He got mad with this sight of food. And how he loved to tear food that way. And though he doesn't know how to fly, but he knows very well how to tear the fish in these small pieces and to eat them. So he loved to tear this food or the fish in small pieces this way, and scraping his beak now and again to wet it. Wet means to sharpen it. So this is an action he also loves to do when he is uh, tearing the fish into pieces and he's sharpening his beak. Now he wants the food. He wants the fish to eat. As the mother is having the fish, the child can obviously shout and ask for food. So ultimately, when she is not responding or the father is not responding, he shouted. What did he say? Ga, ga, ga. He cried, begging her to bring him some food. So he started crying and begging that please give me food. And what is the reply? Ga kola. Now I don't know the language of birds, but she screamed back derisively. Derisively means in a manner showing someone is stupid, and she is actually ridiculing and mocking him. And maybe at first she is not ready to give him the food. But he kept calling plaintively, but in a very plaintive manner, very sorrowful manner. He kept on requesting and calling. And after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. Now, why did he utter this joyful scream? Because he saw that the mother had started flying towards him with the fish or with the food in her beak. So after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. He made a loud cry. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. So he became very happy that the mother is finally coming and approaching him with the food. And now he would have the nice food, the lovely fish he likes to eat, and was flying across to him, across obviously because there's this big between these two cliffs there's a big ridge, and the bird is crossing it. He leaned out. Now as the mother is coming, he would also at least come to the edge because he's very eager and very desperate to eat the food. So here we can see that the mother bird has finally approached him with the food in her beak. And can you see the distance between them? It is just around a leap away, just a leap away. But you know, the leap would mean that he would have to fly. So would he take a leap or the mother would approach him? Let's see. The picture is explaining us a lot. Eagerly tapping the rock with his feet. As the mother is coming with the food, he's so happy that you can see the gesture that he's tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. And whatever possible distance is possible for him to uh, cross and come to the edge, to the brink, he has crossed that and he has moved ahead. But when she was just opposite to him, when she was just about to come and give him food, she halted. Suddenly, she stopped and she did not come further ahead. She just stopped in the air, her wings motionless, and she stopped moving her wings, the piece of fish in her beak almost within reach of his beak. It was almost near. He could just take it. Just a leap is required. It was almost so near. He waited a moment in surprise. For some time, he couldn't understand what was the mother doing. Why did she suddenly stop? And so he was in a moment of surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer. And then, maddened by hunger, but he was so desperate and was so mad with hunger, he was starved so badly that for a moment he forgot about the fear of jumping and flying, and he just took a leap towards the food. It was a leap towards the food. He dived at the fish. With a loud scream, he fell outward and downward into space. But he could not reach the food. Instead, he started falling downward into the space, into air. Then a monstrous terror seized him, and as soon as he realized that it was something wrong that he has done, he has made a terrible mistake, he was seized by a monstrous terror. Monstrous means a very, very huge terror, of the size of a monster, huge terror. And his heart stood still, and his heart sank that now he would just fall down and he would die or he would drown. He could hear nothing. For some time, his ears stopped working, and he could not hear anything. Sometimes when you are in panic, you are not able to hear anything what is happening. You don't know what is going on. You are in a state of oblivion. But it only lasted a minute. It was for a few moments. The next moment, he felt his wings spread outward. After all, now you're falling down. At least you would do something. Some reaction would be there, some response would be there. That could be an automatic response, or you would have been uh, using your presence of mind to do that. I think here it would be an automatic response that is made, and the wings are spread, or he would have spread his wings. So now the wings are spread outward. As soon as the wings are spread, the wind rushed against his breast feathers. Breast feathers means the front feathers. Then under his stomach. Now imagine a bird which is flying. So what happens when a bird flies? The wind is cut through the breast feathers, then and the wind goes under the stomach and against his wings. So we know that there is an aerodynamic shape, and this is the way how the bird cuts through the air and it is able to fly in the air, and it can take a flight. The wind rushed against. He could feel the tip of his wings cutting through the air. And now he can actually feel that his body is cutting through the air and it is actually flying. As soon as he realized that he is able to fly and he's actually flying, he would have gained a lot of confidence. He would not fear now, at least, not so much. He was not falling headlong now. Earlier, when he had not spread his wings, he was falling down headlong. Headlong means with your head down, just like an object is dropped down. He was soaring gradually downward and outward. But as soon as the wings are spread, he is soaring, he is flying, and he has started moving higher and higher gradually and outward. So soaring, as a kite flies and soars, similarly he is also soaring in the sky. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Now he has gained some confidence that he's able to fly. Finally, he's flying. But there's a little bit of dizziness. Dizziness means an uncomfortable feeling of spinning around, the fear that you would lose your balance and you would again fall down. So that little fear is still there. The remains of fear is still there. So you know that when you are cycling, when you pedal for some time, then you can relax for some time. You pedal and then relax. So the momentum is achieved. And once that momentum is achieved, the cycle will go on moving further. And then after some time, you know that it would again deaccelerate and you would again have to pedal the cycle so that it will keep on moving. And only if the cycle will keep on moving at a proper speed will it continue to have a balance. Otherwise, it will drop down. Similarly, here also, that once you have extended your wings is not enough. You again have to flap your wings so that flight is possible by the birds. And you can stay in the air, you can fly ahead, and you can move in the air. So here, he was not falling headlong now. He was no longer afraid. He felt a little dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Now, as soon as he was a little scared and dizzy, he started again flapping his wings. And he realized that again he is in a better position. He is now again stable and he soared upwards. He's again started flying. The body is able to make a flight. Ga 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 cola. So this is the mother. Mother has pounced down. Mother was flying high, but seeing and being very happy that the seagull has taken his first leap and is trying to fly. She is also there to accompany him and to encourage him. So the mother swooped. Swooped means pounced down, coming down through the air is swooping. past him, her wings making a loud noise. As she's flapping the wings, they are making a very loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Now there is some answer, some reply. It could be something that I have done it or whatever. Then his father flew over him, screaming. Now the whole family is coming to encourage him, to support him, and to accompany him. The father also came, screaming again, making a loud sound. They are all very, very happy. He has taken his first flight. The first flight has already been taken, but still there is one more fear that is left. And which is that fear? This is the fear of landing on the water. He has never earlier landed on the surface of water. And now this is sea or an ocean. It's a very huge water body. Will he be able to do that? If he can do one thing, he can do the other also. His mother swooped. Okay, he answered with a scream. The father also came along. He saw his two brothers and his sister flying around him. So both the brothers and the sister also came to encourage him, to celebrate the occasion, that celebrate the event that he has actually taken his first flight. So it's a family celebration. He saw two brothers and sisters and flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. Now, these are various kinds of flying movements in the air. It's not that one kind of movement is enough. You have to bend, you have to take a curve, you have to dive, you have to jump, you have to soar higher. There are various kinds of movements. So these movements have been referred by curveting. Curveting means jumping like a horse or taking jumps. That is known as curveting. And banking. Now, banking means flying with one wing higher than the other. I think this would be banking on roads is actually done on a curve. When you are taking a curve on with your vehicle, then to protect your vehicle from I think rolling out, it the banking is done. So here also I think the birds also take a curve by this movement. And soaring, soaring is moving and flying higher and higher. And diving, again plunging down. Only moving higher is not required, the bird has to come down also, take all forms of movements. And finally, with the help of the family who is training the seagull, all sorts of these movements are being taught to the young seagull who has taken the first flight. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly. Now, once you have learned how to ride a bicycle, you forget about the past, that once you were not even able to paddle it nicely. So he has also forgotten the past. He cannot remember it and commended himself. He praised himself to dive and soar and curve and shrieking shrilly. And he is praising himself. And what is he doing? How is he celebrating? He is trying all these moves. He's diving in the sky. He's rising up and soaring. He's taking a curve, and then he is shouting with a lot of joy. That whenever suppose you have really done bungee jumping or any such kind of adventurous sport or anything great that you have set as a target, then the best way to show your happiness is to shout loudly, because your happiness knows no bounds and that cannot now be retained in your body. You just shout and bring it out. So the seagull is also shrieking shrilly. Shrieking is the same high pitched sound, and shrilly means very forcefully. He is shouting. He was near the sea now. Now he is near the sea, near the surface of the sea, flying straight over. And he's flying straight over. Okay. He's flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw vast green sea beneath him. It was a moment of pleasure. He could really feel the nice, clean, vast expanse of sea just beneath him, and he is flying above it. with little ridges moving over it, and with little water waves over the surface. And he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. And he's looking on the sideways and he is cawing. Cawing is the sound of a bird amusedly, with a lot of amusement. He is, with a lot of ruckus, he is shouting and he's expressing his pleasure. Now his family has already landed on the water surface. Will he be able to land? His parents and his brothers and sister had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. Which is this green floor? This green floor is a liquid, that is water. This is the sea or the ocean. They were beckoning to him, and once they have been floating or swimming in this, they started calling him, beckoning him, calling him, and calling shrilly, loudly, encouraging him, come on, come down. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. Now, is it possible that the birds, have you seen the birds nicely, that whether they are able to stand on water or they float on water? Their body is floating on water. Their legs are submerged in water actually. So he dropped his legs to stand on the green sea, which is not possible. His legs sank into it, into the water. He screamed. He thought that he was drowning. He screamed with fright. He was very much fearful and attempted to rise again. He just wanted to fly again. He thought that he would die, he would sink, but he was tired and weak with hunger. But he was so tired and so, why he was tired? On one hand, you know that he was already hungry since last evening. On the other hand, you know that he had taken a very long flight and all sorts of movements right now. So he's completely exhausted right now. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, but he was tired and weak with hunger and he could not rise. He was exhausted. By the strange exercise. Now, this flight has been referred to as the strange exercise, which he has taken for the first time. His feet sank into the green sea. The feet finally sank, and then his belly touched. And as soon as the belly or the body touched it, the water, the body started floating, because you know, after all, the body has been made or structured in a way that it is hollow. It has hollow bones and quite hollow part inside. Air spaces are there, so it floats on water. And around him, his family was screaming, and they were all shouting loudly and screaming with joy and celebrating the success, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. And right now they are not having a bouquet or a cake for celebration, but what is that they are having? They are having the freshly caught dogfish, the nice dogfish that they have caught, and now that is being fed to him. So this is the gesture where the family is celebrating his success. He has he had made his first flight. Finally, the seagull has been successful in making or in doing his taking his first flight, and we would even say first landing also in the sea. Now remember, in life, whatever the aim seems to be, suppose it is just the beginning of the session and you bring those thick volumes of books and they look very scary, how would you do it? But then you read one page or one chapter gradually, and at the end of the year you know the whole knowledge that is stored in those books, and you are able to give your exams very nicely. So everything which on the first day seems to be very difficult, gradually when you do it and you take step by step into it, you will be able to attain that. You will be able to learn that skill. Nothing in the life is impossible. And that is why first flight in life is very, very important, whether it is animals or whether it is human beings. So always be courageous, have confidence in your abilities, work hard, and take the first flight. And you will always be able to soar higher and higher and attain great heights. I hope you are able to understand the chapter. Try to understand it, read the chapter, and we are going to begin with the second part tomorrow.